Hello, my Facebook family. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Crystal Dillard, and this is my Crystal Loves Texas podcast. If you look around, you'll see some new faces in here. Rebecca's not with us tonight, but she will be back next week. But we do have a frequent contributor, and that is Miss Tiffany Scales, the word matician. Introduce yourself, Tiffany.
Hello, good evening. I'm so happy to be here.
And we have a very special episode tonight. It really kind of hits close to home with me because I've had an experience with this, and I was a little bit discouraged, and maybe you can help me to understand a little bit better why things happen the way that they did. Yes, but we have Miss Erin McCary. Erin, introduce yourself and tell us about your organization.
Hello, my name is Erin McCary. I am the Executive Director of United Colors Education Center, which is a nonprofit organization that provides support services, educational and behavioral, as well as residential, for at-risk youth here in Houston.
And directly to my left, can you introduce the lady who is accompanying you tonight, Miss Erin?
Yes, ma'am. I am here with my vice chair, Ms. Shawanda Bass. She is also an educator and serves on our board of directors at United Colors Education, which is, we call it UCEC.
Good evening.
Good evening, Shawanda. Thank you. Well, let's kind of jump right into it. And the ladies don't know I'm going to ask them this, but ladies, I have a question that I want to pose to all three of you. And you can just answer it with a yes or a no.
Okay.
I'll start with Erin. Erin, are you your brother's keeper?
Yes.
Tiffany?
I don't have one.
Okay. Are you your sister's keeper?
Don't have one of them either. I keep you though.
Are you your fellow man's keeper?
For sure.
Absolutely. And Shawanda, are you your brother or sister's keeper?
Absolutely.
And I wanted to put that out there because that's an umbrella. That's an umbrella statement. And I said that because tonight what we're going to be talking about are children. The most, I'm not going to always say the most innocent, but in many ways the most helpless of our citizens here in this country, and the way that sometimes their rights and not privileges, but their rights cannot be considered as much as the rights of adults.
Okay.
And Erin, I'm going to let you kind of get into the heart of what we're talking about. But before I do that, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Can you please let us know a little bit about your childhood? Now, I know that you are a native Houstonian.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was born here, but moved away at an early age to Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
And went to Catholic school until the 3rd grade.
Okay.
Which I came back for a brief period of time, and then we moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
Until the 7th grade, the
Okay.
end of the 7th grade. And so after that, I was here full time in Houston, Texas. I went to Dowling Middle School.
I taught at Dowling.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I taught at Dowling.
I was at Dowling Middle School.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
You may have been a young teacher, maybe in your teens. You don't look too
Oh,
much
that's so
older,
sweet.
older
Oh,
than
no,
us.
I'm a little older. I could have taught you guys probably, but go Dowling.
Right,
Well,
it was-
which is now Lawson.
Right now, it's
Awesome.
very good, very
Yes,
good, very
yes.
good.
Darling,
And
Texas.
Yes.
Dowling is gone. And then went to Madison High School, where I graduated class of 96.
Okay.
And then after that, went to Dillard University, college. It was a lot for me. It was a lot for me. So I left after my freshman year, came back, kind of traveled the world a little bit.
Yes.
And then, as they say, sow your royal oats.
Yeah.
I had the support of my family
Yes.
and graduated from University of Houston downtown in 2001.
Okay. And you mentioned a little bit about this, about you and Shawanda, but y'all both have a background in education.
Yes.
On some level, everybody sitting here has an educational touch point.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about how, well, let me ask you this. Growing up as a kid, did you always know that you would have some, for lack of a better analogy, some finger in the pool of social services or helping others or being an advocate? Did you always know that?
Short answer, no.
Okay.
But it's a great question. Humble beginnings
Okay.
are where I'm from. I was always for the underdog.
Okay.
I always was the kid who brought other children home
Yes.
to my house. You
Yes.
know, we always had a house full.
Mommy, can somebody come
Can
over
come-
to eat? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Mama came home to
And
kids'
she
house.
would just
Yes,
come home.
yes.
There was no permission given. She would come home and I would say, well, Mom, she didn't have any
Yes.
food at home. Or
Yes,
her mom hasn't
yes.
been there for 2 days.
That's right.
So I was always that child.
Got you.
And in nurturing my fellow peers
Yeah.
at that age, I also was a troublemaker.
I had respect, Aaron.
I had a
can't see
village.
that.
The lady, the woman I am today is because of my village. They never gave up.
Okay.
But I could very well have been the child that I served because
Okay.
as bad as I was, I'm thankful that my mother didn't say, "Hey, y'all can have her," because I can't deal with
Now,
this one.
were you the girl that the teacher was always calling home saying, "Ma'am, Aaron today, I'm just not sure, but Aaron had extra energy today."
That was me. Well, I was the girl. My aunts and uncles went to Madison.
Yes.
My family has been in that area for 50 years. So
Wow.
my teachers, I came from a set where the teachers knew your mom. They knew, I stayed across the street from my principal.
Yes.
And so I was scared to act up in school.
I love it.
So I
love it.
I didn't.
You
It
lived
wasn't.
across the street from your Gotcha.
It wasn't
Gotcha.
that I was the one that they called. I was the one that they took in and say, now,
Yes.
if I was to call Sam or I was to call PK,
That's right.
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I'm going to need you to get it together. I was
Yes.
extended a lot of grace
That's great.
in school, and I had a lot of support from the educators around me.
That's right. Now let me ask you this, Miss Shawanda.
Mhm.
Were you the imp in school? Were you the one who got in trouble, or were you the good little kid that did everything right?
I didn't do at school. Yes, I was
Okay.
the student. I was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities.
Okay.
So I had to kind of stay in line.
That's good.
To be able to participate.
Yes.
But I was a good student. Good
That's
grades.
good. What schools?
Madison.
Okay.
I went to Madison, class of 01.
Okay.
Went to Dowling.
Okay. Really?
I am a product of Harlem Clark, Texas. Yes. And then went on to
Come on.
Prairie View
That's
and then
awesome.
graduated from Texas Southern. So,
Oh, come on now.
Uh-uh.
Do that. Good job.
yes. Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's okay. You can have a divided allegiance. So one.
Is.
So for football season, you go and support PV, and for basketball season, you can support TSU.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Well, Aaron, when we started talking, and we actually were introduced through Tiffany,
Yes.
and Tiffany told me, she said, you really need to talk to Aaron because she has an organization, and her organization is all about uplifting and supporting kids who may have been overlooked. Tell me a little bit about how you became involved in social services, especially as it relates to kids who have been part of the system.
Well, for me, as I told you, I was a troubled adolescent, and I could have been easily one of those children had I not had a village.
Right.
So I've always had a knack for caring for other people's children.
Okay.
I started out back in the early 2000s opening up a preschool in my home. So I started out in early childhood development.
Yeah.
And from that, it just kind of gave way to a space for other parents to trust someone that was going to look out for their child like they were their own.
Okay.
And so I've always had that responsibility to my community and taking care of those children. But social service work for me didn't start until I saw the need with our community today, back when the pandemic started.
Wow.
The need for children to have support that was overlooked because everybody was so busy with dealing with everything other than children's voices.
What were some of the things that you witnessed or observed? The need.
Yes, ma'am. The need, not getting the support they needed educationally.
Okay.
Not listening to that thought that I can't do this, not because I'm incapable of doing it, but I don't have the right support. My learning style differs from what I'm being
Right.
taught,
Right.
and not having the voice. I tell
Yes.
adults all the time, I don't care for grown-ups, but I love children.
Yeah.
I'm going to advocate for them.
Yeah.
And so I ended up being that voice that
Right.
spoke up to those parents, and they started to listen. She's one. I've taken care of her children since inception, since they were born,
Yeah.
and she used to tell me all the time, you always speaking for my kids. Just
Yeah.
let me be mama. I said, that's fine, you can be mama, but
Yeah.
they feel this way, or they express this.
Yeah. They have
And
a
so
voice.
they were comfortable with conveying that. Parents were comfortable with allowing me
Right.
to support and provide that structure. And it just kind of bridged its way to being what it was that I did on every day.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about the organization. And I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I want to sort of know, because we had a conversation night before last, and you opened my eyes to a lot of things. Okay. And well, first of all, I want to make this clear. Here in Texas, we have what all of us commonly know as Children's Protective Services, and based on what they have to work with, they're stretched thin, and they do their best.
Absolutely.
Based on what they have to work with. But with manpower and resources, it can only go so far.
Absolutely.
And there's so many kids that need to be able to have access to the very best that we can offer.
Yes, ma'am.
So with where CPS may have gone above and beyond to offer all the support they can, where does United Colors Education Center come into play? Where do they come in to fill the gap?
Yes, ma'am. So we have a residential treatment home that is in the works. So we have we purchased a home. We purchased a house that we want to turn into not just a treatment center, but a foundation for children at risk, or in CPS,
right,
that don't have placement or aren't in foster care, don't have a foster family.
Okay,
so,
got you.
Right. So for us, what that looks like is not just
my next
being
question. I was going to ask you,
what that looks like is not just being a foster center, but being a family home.
Yes.
For those children to begin again.
Right.
When you're displaced from family, that's such a big transition.
Yes.
Especially for a child. And so my passion comes in, as I said, I could have been one of those children, but also that they deserve to have that sound foundation, that structure of love and support.
Right.
And so UCEC, by way of Sam's Heart, which is the name of the residential home, we're raising money to put it into place to provide that support for those children. We want to align ourselves with what is already being done by the entities, but again, doing that above and beyond because we're capable of doing so.
And when we spoke the other night, you told me of some things that you witnessed that you said, and I'm sure that most people would agree with, that could, if a choice could be given, that there would be another option that the kids would be able to have. And let's just be clear. So many times with the things that can happen in families, any one of us, if something, my mother was a single parent from the time I was 6 years old and my sister was 8 years old. My father passed away. And if anything had happened to her, most of our relatives are on the East Coast. We would have either been sent to the East Coast or even temporarily, maybe been in a situation. Thank goodness we do have a village, but that's the kind of thing that, just a flip of the variables on any level could change that.
Yes, ma'am.
And you witnessed some things that do happen right now that are less than optional, because and I will say this, and this is public record because we've seen it on television, that now sometimes if there is not a foster home available for kids. Children's Protective Services, they have to do the best that they can.
Absolutely.
And that means making sure that no kid is out on the street.
Right.
But sometimes they have to enlist the services of maybe housing the kids temporarily in their offices or in their in hotels, that they're placed in, or other facilities like this, which like you said, and like we saw on the news, it's not necessarily optimal, but we don't have enough. Let's just be clear: we don't have enough people stepping up who want to be vetted.
Agreed.
To be foster parents.
Agreed.
And now we're going to come to this.
Okay.
I had been looking into, how sometimes you just look into it on your own. You don't tell anybody what you're doing, but I've been looking into the possibility of fostering or adopting. But I looked into it for with older children.
Okay.
Children. I've never been a person who was just really that fond of the little bitty ones having that phase. It's great, and I was great with my niece, but I have a rapport with those kids that are the teenagers, or I have a rapport with those kids. And there was a something that was a little press release that came out about a brother and sister pair. That were fosters, and they interviewed them, and had a little video piece on them, and they spoke. They seemed like wonderful kids, but something happened where a parent was killed, or a parent passed away.
Right.
And I submitted my information, just the preliminary information, and I said it's something I'm interested in. I told them a little bit about my background. I don't have any kind of record of any kind or anything like that. And I knew I've run for public office before, but I knew that if this was something that I was interested in, I was willing to put anything like that on the back burner.
Right. As you have to.
Absolutely. And I was abruptly shut down. What happened, Erin?
The process is a long one.
Okay.
As you know. And with the shortage of staff,
okay,
they delegate those responsibilities to other agencies for people becoming foster parents.
Gotcha.
I just recently got my foster care license, completed my class, but I had to go through a third-party agency.
And that's what they referred me to, a third party.
And then the thing with going through a third-party agency is that you have to get on the list.
Gotcha.
So for their availability, it's not like when you go to school and you're able to pick your classes for the fall and the spring semester. It comes when they have the manpower to be able to provide the recourse in teaching.
So it wasn't personal.
No, it absolutely was not personal. It's a lot to do. And then another thing that happens is, depending on what type of foster parent you are going to be, you have to go through more than just classes with that foster care. Sometimes you have to go through classes with the courts. Sometimes you have to go through classes with the juvenile
depending
system.
on the needs
on the needs of the children you're going to foster.
Right.
So it's a lot involved in getting parents vetted and certified and licensed to be foster families, and they generally fall, it's a lot. These ain't my kids, so this is taking too long. They fall back, or they get discouraged and don't put in the work anymore.
And see, that's the thing. I don't want, and you've made this clear. I don't want others out there, because of the experience that I had. And Erin has just cleared up a lot for me, because I was just thinking, well, goodness, it would seem like they would be interested at least in talking to someone who wanted this.
They do.
But they're overwhelmed.
Yes.
They've got a lot on their plate.
You kind of have to be a bugaboo, if that makes sense. And not to say you are a bugaboo, but it may feel like that because you're making calls every day, because you're sending emails. Hi, I filled out the application.
To show that commitment.
They want you to show that commitment. Yes. And then someone will say, hey, I'm sorry, I got your email, meant to call you, a week ago. Let's get you in this
Yes.
next class. So it's just the process. We all out here living in life, and things happen even in the corporate structure, like these entities that make,
Yes.
foster parents. So we give them grace.
Well, when you all, first of all, tell me a little bit now about Sam's Heart. And I'm going to turn to Shawanda. And Shawanda, tell me again, you are the vice president. What is your role with
UCEC.
UCEC?
Yes, so I'm on the board
Okay.
of directors, and I am the vice chair, acting chair, currently.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my role there on the board.
So when you all decided that this was, before we go there, let me walk back for a minute, because you did tell me that as far as group homes are, they're no more.
No more group homes. You
Call
have
them RTC.
Yeah,
Wow. And what
you
does
have
that mean?
you have to qualify for RTC. They call them GRO homes, which are general residential operations.
Okay, so that's what Sam's Heart would be.
Right. We would be an
Okay.
RTC. Right.
Oh,
So
okay.
we offer treatment. So
Okay,
our
got
village
you.
is going
Residential
to
treatment
right.
center.
We're going to offer
Okay.
treatment. We're going to offer programs to catapult children into being successful adults and whatever they
Yes.
want to be. So we're going to have program types, but it's going to be more so family oriented and structured, so they don't feel like it's like a school or it's like something that they have to do.
Kind of the structure that you would get if parents or if responsible adults were in the home consistently.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed.
So Shawanda, tell me this: when you all thought about this residential treatment center, what made you all know immediately that this is something that you felt could be a success? Because we've seen a lot of things that, a lot of people try at different types of things. And for whatever reason, 2 or 3 years down the line, you see it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
What made you all know that Sam's Heart could be a success?
Well, we know that there is a need out there for it.
Yes.
And that's pretty obvious. And like all things, there are challenges that will come with that.
Yes.
But we've been steadfast to continue to move in the direction of establishing Sam's Heart, and just knowing that where, almost like that saying, like if you build it, they will come, I guess you could say.
Yes.
So it's an innate feeling that this can be done. It's not a lot of options out there.
Okay.
It's a need, and we're willing to provide it. So that's where we are with, pulling it together. We're still going in that direction, and that's what one of our biggest missions is, to get this up and running for the community and for the children who need it. Providing those life skills and that support, because it's a fairly broken system. So
and like we said, it's definitely a system that could there's some opportunities for improvement, for growth. There's some opportunities for growth, and there are dynamics, and all of us can say this, and I know Tiffany can especially speak to this, because with her organization, where she actually collects toiletries for families that are in need, you see another side of situations that could easily spiral very quickly into a child being in foster care or a ward of the state.
I think that's why I'm so proud of Erin in the organization. It's been such a lift of stress, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that I've literally borne witness to how she operates with these kids, and the fact that she maintains the same decorum with all involved. Like, I know you mentioned that she cares about the kids, but UCEC covers the entire household. They take into account that, a single parent or even two working parents can be overwhelmed. And so they offer support with regards to their resumes, as well as interview preparation and, sustenance when it comes to just maintaining the household and their freedom. But like, she has done hair for the little girls who are too conscientious in the summertime and keep hoodies on their head.
Right.
And she makes them feel beautiful. But like the whole buildup isn't just the programmatic effect, but more so her presence and her, uplifting and pouring out, which I appreciate, because I feel like this is not a substitute. This is the conduit. And it's
Right.
truly what needs to be added to every program to succeed with, the upkeep of our villages.
That's right. And the thing about it is, you really touched on something that I think is so important. And, we have got to begin to look at what that family structure and
Exactly.
village structure is in a different way.
It's different now.
That's right.
It's so
Because
different.
it may not be that nuclear mom and dad and the three
Absolutely.
kids in the household. We have so many different dynamics that constitute good and strong families now. And we have to be able to, but that doesn't mean that even those families who are doing their best don't need that support.
That's a really good point. And even to touch on the inclusivity, which I want to publicly thank you for, because we have evolved when it comes to family being, two parents or one parent, a non-binary, non-gender conforming household, to where,
absolutely.
you have children in our community whose parents are present, but not educated on how to support their children.
That's right.
And having an organization that is accepting and inclusive allows some, mirroring and opportunity to feel acceptable and respected.
And to reach out, to
Yes.
feel comfortable
Very
with
much
reaching
so.
out.
When we started in
2020,
the
the
pandemic,
Yeah.
coming from my experience and coming into the fold prior to coming on the board and getting more in depth, it was that situation of single mother, educated,
Right.
but still did not have the tools or know how to support my kids.
Exactly.
We were all at home.
Yes.
And I called up Erin on the whim. I'm like, hey, I need a tutor. Can you recommend?
Yes.
She's like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay.
Wow.
And that support for them through that period, it saved them, because I was worried.
Saved you too, Mama.
Yes.
For
because
sure.
I knew, I'm like, oh, if I don't do something out, like, they're going to suffer, because it was that much of a break from their, ongoing routine.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, and just think about it. You happen to know someone who had a resource or who was the resource. But think about the people who were out there.
That's the problem.
That don't have
Did
that.
not
That's
have
my
that.
That's why we're
mission.
here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my
where it
mission,
came
to
from.
reach those individuals that don't know that they have this type of support available to them.
That's just it's amazing. Now, this is what I want to know. Tell me this. Erin, what will Sam's heart look like? What what is involved in stepping into that space and getting that together to receive your first clients?
Once we have renovated the home, which we're having a ball to raise funds.
Yes.
Next
And
week.
we're going to talk about
next
that.
week, Friday.
Yes.
Yes, a debutante ball. So we're going to present some children that I've been working with since preschool, who are now in high school.
Oh my goodness.
To society, to show where we came from and how. But we'll get to that.
And it's at a historic ballroom too. We won't talk about that yet.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. But what Sam's Heart will look like is a safe space for children to thrive that have been displaced from their homes. So we're long-term care. And so
long-term meaning what?
We
Like
would
year
potentially keep those children until they come of age. Until they come of age.
And you would possibly get them at what age?
We're taking them as young as, is it 7?
Wow.
Shonda? As young as 7.
Okay. And up until
17 years of age.
Until they age out.
Until
Yeah.
they age out. And we'll provide them with
Yes.
mentorship. We'll provide them with literacy skills as far as to how to be financially stable.
Yes.
They'll come in. They'll get skill sets to help them become more socially accepting of people, because most children who are displaced from home are very distrusting.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Sometimes,
and rightfully so.
Absolutely. Sometimes they come with behavioral, circumstances that need to be addressed.
Exactly.
And need to allow them to understand how they feel emotions. So emotional regulation, in a sense that we're going to support them from all ends. And Sam's Heart will play a part in if there are families that maybe don't have the bandwidth to provide for the children, but still want to remain in the children's lives while they're in our structure, our home. We will do family reunification and partner also with those families to give them access to the children, so that they know that they're loved and they're cared about and supported from all ends.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Now, will this type of residential treatment center be single gender, or will you have both boys and girls in the?
So Sam's Heart will be single gender.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to start off with girls.
Yes.
But essentially, I'm a woman.
Yes.
So, that is my niche in terms
Right.
of being able to teach
Exactly.
how to be young ladies.
Right.
But we want to eventually get it to where we have homes to both.
That's what I was going to ask.
Boys
Yeah.
and girls.
Yeah. Because let me say this. As a classroom teacher sitting in that classroom every day, of course we get the ARDs and the 504 information on a lot of the kids, so we know which kids may be in placement.
Yes, ma'am.
Or or in a situation like that. And so many times, Erin, what I found is that a lot of times kids in that situation will test you in ways that the other kids won't, because
they need attention,
and they're so accustomed to someone giving up on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they just will say, well, I knew she was going to do it. I knew I wasn't going to be in here for but for 2 weeks anyway,
to prove their point. No one cares about them, to
Exactly.
prove what they've been conditioned to think when they're displaced, that everybody's giving up on me, nobody cares, so I can just run amok.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see that, and I hate to say this, but unfortunately in many of the situations that I've seen, the kids have acted out to the point, because basically in ISDs it's like a what is it, a 3-strike almost type situation, and then you're moved on to another type of agency.
Yeah. Another type.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I wouldn't have even known this. I remember this. Let me tell you this. This was last year. There was a student that came through our school. Very, very smart girl. Very, very smart girl. But she always treated me with the utmost respect. But I saw her completely lash out on other teachers. But she would come to school sometimes, and you could tell she was high on something.
Mm-hmm.
But even through that cloud, she was very respectful to me. And I would ask the girl that I knew was her friend. I would say, well, I'm gonna call her Susan. Where's Susan? I haven't seen her in 2 weeks. And they would say, well, she was down in Harris County, and then she'd come back, and then we found out that the lights were turned off at the house, and there was no electricity and water at the house, and there was a younger sibling at the house, and then the father had gone back to jail, and that kid was trying to hold it together as best,
all of that
with as best, and ultimately she became a ward of the state, which probably may have been a little more stability than what she had.
Right. At least you get a consistent roof over your head. Right.
But I know that kid, you could tell that with only, and I'm not an expert, Erin, you are, but only with consistency and being shown love and knowing that she was going to have somewhere to go every night. She was going to have clothes and food. That would have been what she needed to catapult her forward. That's all that she would have needed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And when I saw that, and I knew that at that point I wasn't going to be able to step in and say, okay, well, listen, can you fast track me? Can you put me in that program?
Because that's what you want to do.
That's what I wanted to do.
That's what you want to do. Yes, ma'am.
And I understand that foster parents need to be carefully vetted, because you got so much going on.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So much going on these days. And I know that you guys have probably seen or heard about it, so much of it. But when you see situations like that, you automatically know that
it's a call to action. For me, it's a call to action.
What's alarming, though, is the fact that the vetting doesn't seem to be sufficient because of the horror stories we have all heard about the foster care experience.
Yes.
Well, I can't speak to each experience,
Right.
but I can speak to what I see.
Mhm.
And that is, where's the handbook on how to raise a child? And you're receiving a child that's not of your blood,
Right.
that's not of your kin in terms of fictive kinship, where
Right.
you're the neighborhood aunt or
Yeah.
cousin. So you know nothing about this child, and they come in like you said. That little girl, she was respectful to you,
Very.
but she trusted you.
Yeah.
But guess what? She didn't trust anyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
these children come into these spaces that they don't feel protected. They
Right.
don't feel
Respected.
and that's a big thing
Yeah.
too. Children deserve respect.
Yes,
I
they do.
say that all the
And
time
you see some teachers not do that.
because
Oh,
we
yes.
were raised
Yeah.
from a time
Yeah.
children are to be seen and not heard. Do as I say,
They have
not as I
opinions.
do.
Yeah.
Children have opinions. They
That's
deserve to
right.
be respected.
And
they
heard.
have voices
That's
and
right.
heard. And so if you're doing none of these things and you're a complete stranger, what would you expect
That's right.
the reaction to be?
And the immediate, I mean, just the human reaction is going to be combative. at
Very good.
first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to put up a guard. I'm going to put up a wall. And
Yeah.
that's what I see a lot of times when I go into situations
Right.
where the children are not necessarily behaving in a manner that we want. It's
Yes.
unwanted behavior.
Yes.
And I always try to understand the child. I had a child curse me out one day while I was working with the children, and it wasn't because she didn't like me, because she didn't know me.
Yeah.
I realized that her situation, she had people coming in and out of her life,
Constantly.
in and out.
That's right.
And here I am trying to check on her and trying to ensure that she's safe, and she feel like being bothered. Like,
Exactly.
I done had 6 other people before you come
Right.
and check on me. What, they ain't give you a report? Like, what?
And some of them I'll never see them again.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. Why do I
Yeah.
need to talk to you?
Yeah.
Shut up. Don't talk to me is what
Yeah.
she said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure you're
Yeah.
okay. And it's those types of, I guess, skill sets that they don't come with. It doesn't come with every parent,
Right.
every foster parent, right?
Right.
Because like you said,
That's true. Yeah.
we want respect. We're the adult. You should
Yeah.
respect us. But
Yeah.
in a situation like this, you have to earn that
But
child's
are these
respect.
things be the things that they vet folk for? Because I can't imagine someone as patient as Crystal. I get it. It's inundated.
Right.
The applications are completely overflowing. But
Yeah.
from the experience of too many stories,
Right.
they ought to
Yeah.
include the compassion and the forefront of intention, as
Yeah.
opposed to I need to check. Because too many times people just do it for the benefit.
Right. You can't
Yeah.
teach compassion.
No.
That's
And
true.
when
That's
there's
true.
an overflow, right? There's a
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
We see this all the time with jobs. People go get a job that they know they don't want to do, but I need a check,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so with the overflow and the need, sometimes people slip through the cracks. It's your
Agreed.
friend who may
Yes.
not be that patient,
Yeah.
but she has, the resources to provide
Yeah.
housing and
Yeah.
oh, I can take 3 children. Oh, okay, you approved it. You slipped through the cracks
Wow.
of being
Yeah.
vetted
Yeah.
the way we would vet, on a normal basis. But yes, ma'am.
Well, let me say this. Seeing the horror stories
Hmm.
that we've all seen, there are also some success stories. I have a friend who still is a foster parent, and she's been a foster parent for her kids are grown. She's been a foster parent for the last, I'm going to say maybe about 10 to 12 years, maybe a little bit longer. And a couple of the foster kids that have come through her charge, she's adopted them. And some of them are in college now. Some of them are married and have their own families. And when you see those family pictures come through at the holidays, and this is a multiracial family, and they come in, and the kids come in, and they call her mom, and they love her. But she was the one who provided that stability to these kids.
For sure.
And it meant the world. It meant the world to them. But Erin, I want to make sure that people understand this. And this is something that I asked you about the other night.
Yes, ma'am.
Children who come out of these situations, they can be successful and they can thrive.
Absolutely. There is no question that with support and a village,
Yes.
every child can thrive. Every child can have that skill set. Like I say, we can't control them once they become adults, right?
Yes.
Once they're at that age where legally they aren't bound to any type of guidance from us.
Right.
We can't control what happens. But if we provide a foundation, if we provide support that they know. So for Sam's Heart, our children, we're going to have services so that when they age out, they still have mentorship that follows them.
Yes.
So that they know that if you mess up, if things happen, you still have somewhere,
Right.
like you say,
like,
Mama.
need
like
some
your
help.
family.
Yes,
Mhm.
we're
Like your
family.
Yeah.
Your
We got
village
you.
is your home. You can always come to us for support,
Yes.
for those resources that every young adult needs when they're getting out there into the world. Like I said, I didn't go stay at Dillard because, baby, being an adult, I
Yes.
couldn't wake up for class on time.
Right.
The classes seemed to
I
be.
remember that. I scheduled all my classes after 1 o'clock.
I
Smart
scheduled.
lady.
I
Yeah.
scheduled 7 classes
I
my
did.
freshman year, thinking that was the thing to do.
No.
That was
Mm-mm.
such a big
No.
mistake.
Yeah.
And it was just overwhelming for me. But what did I know? I knew that I had a home that
Right.
would accept me back,
That's
with
right.
open arms, in a way that it wasn't, oh, I'm gonna stop being loved, or there was a judgment there
Right.
as a young adult of not being, of being a failure and not being able to make it right.
Well, what my mother told me was that, listen, you can fail going to Houston Community College. So if you don't get this together, you're going to be right back down here at the house.
Right,
with me.
right.
That was scary enough.
Absolutely.
So that I got myself together, and I made sure that I brought my grades up so I could stay out of town. Because, nobody wants to be right under the mother's thumb, But well, let me ask you this, Erin. In the little teaser that I did for you coming on tonight, I said, in doing all this advocacy, you are having a ball.
That was beautiful.
In more ways than one, right?
Absolutely. There you go. Yes,
So
ma'am.
tell me what kind of ball you're having.
I am having, this is our second annual Sam's Heart fundraiser.
Okay.
And so it's always held in the winter. This year's theme is the Storybook Ball.
Okay.
The concept behind the Storybook Ball is that children get to control their narrative once they come into Sam's Heart.
Yes.
Displaced children are so broken sometimes. They're at a place where they don't trust. They're at a place that they don't feel like they're going to succeed in life.
Okay.
And so we want to give them the opportunity to rewrite their story. We want them to know that, hey, here at Sam's Heart, we're going to support you so that you can control the narrative. Where you came
Yes.
from is not where you're going.
That's right.
And so this is our second year for the Storybook Ball, and it is a debutante and gentleman's winter gala.
Wow.
And as I was explaining earlier, I have another company, a for-profit,
Okay.
that I started my early childhood development services with back in 2006. And so with that, I had a preschool ran out of my home. It was a
Right.
bilingual preschool ran out of my home.
Okay.
I moved into a building right here off of Alameda in 2015. It was for
Okay.
like about a year, but
Okay.
I had daycare services.
Okay.
And so those children, 8 of those young girls who started out with me in preschool
Yes.
are now either 11th grade, 10th or 11th graders.
Right.
And we will be presenting them to society
Wow.
to show that with a village, this
Yes.
is what it looks like.
That's right.
These are the children of
Right.
UCLI, that's the
Yes.
school village, and UCEC wants to provide that for those
Wow.
children that
Wow.
have been displaced from their
Wow.
families.
Now, if the community would like to get involved, are there still tickets available? Can they sponsor? What can they do if they would like to get involved?
All of the above. We are still looking for sponsors, donations. If you can't make it, it's Friday, December 9th at the historical El Dorado Ballroom.
Okay.
It will be transformed into a magical winter
December
wonderland.
8th.
December
Yeah.
8th. I'm sorry, what did I
December
say? I said,
9th.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, the 8th. Yes,
It's
correct.
a Saturday though.
No, it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Yes,
Friday.
ma'am. It's a
Friday.
Friday.
Not this coming Friday, but
Next Friday. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we are accepting donations. We are accepting tickets are still available. You can go on Eventbrite. You also can go online to www.ucectx.org to purchase tickets or to make a donation, or you can give me a call. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, what's the other one? TikTok. I'm on TikTok. My information is public. I tell people I work in healthcare and people's children, so you can Google me, and everything that you need to find about me is public. It's public information.
Okay. So, when can we look to, and we are absolutely positive that the Storybook Ball is going to be a success, a huge success.
Thank you.
So when can we look to possibly seeing our first residents be able to, what are the channels that you have to go through before you can start getting girls in placement into Sam's Heart?
Right. So the home that we bought needs to be renovated to
Okay.
meet the standards for the state. To have a contract with the state, they require the
Certain
home
things.
to have certain things within.
Such
as we need to have, all of the rooms have to have exit windows. They
Okay.
have to have lockers and things of that such, so that the girls have personal spaces.
space. Yes.
We have
Yes.
to have security exit lighting signs throughout.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sure
The
fire,
the fire,
Mhm.
right,
Things
right,
up to
right,
code,
right,
different
right,
inspections.
right.
Mhm.
We just different inspections to ensure that we are compliant, minimally compliant with
Right.
the state's expectation. And so we are slated to open in April of 2024. By God's grace and a successful storybook ball, we hope to complete construction around February of
Okay.
2024.
Wow.
And then the licensing
around the
process
corner.
is right. It's right
Mhm.
around the corner.
Yes.
Exactly. So we're depending on the village. We're depending on those people to support us, to help us help the community.
Yeah.
However, I'm gonna do it hook crook.
That's
snap.
right.
Like I'm
That's right.
I'm
One
gonna
way or
put
the other, it's
out
gonna
right.
happen.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
put it all out there to make it happen. But to ensure that these girls have this safe space, to ensure that these girls have this support, Sam's Heart is going to be a place that they can call home.
Right. And I have a very, very good friend that uh, found herself at one point um, in CPS custody, and her situation was different. She was from a very um, successful family, but had some trouble with a family member in the home, and had to be placed in CPS custody for her own safety. And I remember back then, and I'm going to say this was almost 20 years ago, 1994.
That's 30 years.
Is that 30? Oh,
It's almost
that is.
2024.
Sorry, my math ain't good.
That's okay. I stuck in that
Hers
time.
is. You got
Yeah.
that steam program down.
There you go. There you go. Like that's 30 years.
Yes.
That's
I'm sorry, y'all.
Feels like yesterday.
That's right. That's right. It seems
it
like it.
does.
I remember we were driving down South Main, and we came to the street. I'm trying to remember what the name of that street was, but you turn right. Um, and there was an office that used to be
CPS Merworth.
Merworth.
Yeah,
that was
right
it.
there.
That was
Yes.
it. And she said, "Oh my goodness, I remember many days living. I used to live over there." And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean?" I didn't understand what she meant, because until you kind of broke it down and said, sometimes that's the situation,
Right.
to make sure that we have a place
To
for the
put
kids
them,
to
right,
be.
temporarily.
And she
Yes.
said, "Yeah, I used to live right over there." And I said, I had no idea. I had no idea. But luckily, her situation was able to be resolved.
Very good.
And she's in a very, very good place now. She's a parent, with very successful kids in college. That has been 30 years, hasn't it?
Right,
Okay.
right. Yes,
Yeah, she
ma'am.
got kids in
Yes,
college.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
But
Speaking of college, what's really exciting
Yes.
is the longevity of Sam's Heart will allow the children to develop and then go to school for free, because they'll still be wards of the state,
Right.
correct?
Mhm.
explain that. You got to explain that.
So as long as they are actively attending school or some type of program component,
Right.
the government, the state, will still provide funds for them to do so.
They can even get a
Wow.
master's degree.
So they can
Mhm.
continue
That
on
is amazing.
as it covers up. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong out there,
Yeah.
my CPS caseworkers. I think it's 25 or 26 that
The
they
age.
can the age.
So they
that
can very, very much get an advanced degree.
Yes.
Yes.
right.
That's
Right. There are
amazing.
program components that will allow them to. That's why I said they're success stories.
Yes, very
Right.
much so.
So when you put all of the pieces into play, right,
Yes.
and you structure it so that they know that, hey, we're here for you.
Yes.
This is the next stage, and then this is the next stage.
Mhm.
You
There's some more
absolutely
options.
will get to your goal, and that's what Sam's Heart is going to do. We're going to reach all of our girls that come into our home are going to reach goal. They're going to be successful
Yes.
adults. They're going to know
Yes.
that they have support, but not just support. They're going to have the know-how. We're going to create those critical thinking. We're going to stimulate those critical thinking skills so that they have it for themselves to know
Yes.
how to get it.
And the thing about it is, with you providing the type of opportunity where girls know that if I slip up or if I make a mistake, that I'm not going to get kicked out. I'm not going to lose my family because you guys would have become their family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are now, because it's state funded, you know,
Yes.
you do have to create guidelines, right?
Absolutely.
We have to create guidelines.
And that's in a normal family. You have to have some boundaries.
But our boundaries
right.
and guidelines will never, if you want to stay and you want to keep pushing, we're
Yes.
going to stand behind
as
you,
long as you're
and
not
we're gonna
endangering
support
someone
you.
else.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're going to support you 100%.
Erin,
Ma'am.
Shawanda, if there are people who are watching right now, because you all cannot be the only ladies here in Houston who have a heart to want to see this type of thing come to fruition in our communities. It takes a village, and we are our brother's keepers.
Sure.
Have you all ever thought of having a class or an interest
We do that.
organization for someone else who wants to mirror what you're doing?
Absolutely. Everything that I do, I believe in documenting.
Yes.
So there is always going to be those that come after you or those that want to join
That's
you,
right.
right? And I believe that if you document, right? So
Mhm.
if you say, hey, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and you pass that information along,
Yes.
you're able to help those who wish to serve in the way that you wish
That's
to
right.
serve.
And there may be someone across town,
Right.
or another part of Texas,
Right.
who wants to do
Who
the
wants
exact
to
same
do the
thing.
exact, so we provide
Yes.
those resources
And they've
Yeah.
become
to others.
successful with that.
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. Shawanda has been instrumental in helping me over the years tighten up those
Yes.
processes so that we can
Right.
extend that support to
Awesome.
others that want to do it. Her sister
Yeah.
actually is now, she does a residential home. Now it's for adults, but it came by
Wow.
way of
That's
us
awesome.
starting Sam.
That's
And she's up and running before we got Sam's Heart up and running, but only because that process is not as rigorous as for children. It's for
Okay.
adults. But my point is that the blueprint was already there to say, hey, this, you know, you need to start with your fire inspection, you know, contacting your
Yes.
local, you know, government agencies to say these are the services you want to provide with your home, so forth and so on. So absolutely, we believe in sharing the information. We don't gatekeep over here.
Wow.
That's good. That's good. And the thing about it is, everybody needs when you have a good playbook, when you got a good playbook, that playbook, you can pass that playbook and then
to win many
duplicate it.
games.
That's
To
right.
win many games.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Now, let me ask you this: in a facility like Sam's Heart, how many kids would you get in at one time?
8. We would be able to
The
take up to
capacity?
8 children. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And would other kids rotate in as others age out of the program,
Yes,
or how
ma'am.
would that work?
That's exactly how it would work.
Okay.
So the availability of beds is how they
Right.
place children in your facility.
Okay.
We would, if children didn't fit or maybe were reunified with the family,
Right.
We would have open spots. Then that availability would show with state agencies
Gotcha.
like CPS, because
Gotcha.
CPS is not the only agency that we're going to accept children from.
Okay.
So we're going to accept children from the juvenile
Detention.
department. Right. Yes, ma'am. We're going to accept, and we will also accept private residents.
Okay. Now, if a child is coming from Harris County Juvenile Services, would that child's parent need to at that point sign a waiver saying that the child could come and live with? How would that?
If the child is coming from juvenile,
then the courts have already
right.
been
The
involved.
courts have been involved.
Yes.
The parent has no say, so the
Yes.
judge has ordered this child to render. The parents no longer have their capacity
Right.
to parent, and they render the authority to provide
Okay.
care to whatever agency or whatever entity then takes in the child.
So when you
Okay.
say private, would a parent facing a current hardship that may take about a year or two for them to get on their
Right.
feet, or if they find a job outside of Houston but they want to keep the stability for their child, could they apply for?
Well, Sam's Heart is a residential treatment, so that means that their child would have to face some barriers or need
Okay.
some sort of rehabilitation in
Okay.
terms of behavioral
Gotcha.
or that sort of thing. So Sam's Heart, no. But if you're a
But you-
parent that has an issue with their child that you
Yes.
know you may want to have, I need them to get
Support,
this type
right.
of support for 6 months, or one of
Right.
our programs, then yes, a private parent.
And that would kind of fall into United Colors Education Center. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
That's
you
how we're
guys-
able to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I had somebody ask me this today. For the ball, if someone are you at liberty to say how much the tickets are or the sponsorship are there tables to be sponsored?
Yes,
How
ma'am.
does that work?
So the tickets are, and we're 501c3.
Okay.
So it's a charitable donation. You do get a tax credit
Okay.
so you get the money back. But the tickets are a donation of $150.
Okay.
We have tables going for $1,500.
Okay.
We have had sponsors purchase tables so that we can invite community
Okay.
out, and so the tables are more so for like the big corporations
Right.
or those companies looking for a tax write-off for
Yes,
the end of the year
absolutely.
type of thing. But we also have had some tickets donated where people donate money and
Right.
then they're not going to attend,
Yes.
but we allow that to serve as a free ticket for someone
Right.
who would not otherwise be able to afford.
So with
So,
the donation though, what can someone expect?
With the donation, they can expect a tax credit. They can also expect a letter of thanks,
Okay.
and we will then involve them with who they supported. And
I was
so,
more so going for like this food that's not dry and overcooked.
oh, the food is going to be great. We're going to have entertainment. We
Yeah.
have Urban Souls. My good friend
Wow.
Walter Hull with Urban Souls Dance Academy is going to perform. My lovely friend
That's what I was gonna
Tiffany
ask.
Scales
Yes,
is going to
yes.
do a number. We also have Chris Tucker. He's going to be the host. He's a local
I know Chris well.
MC here in Houston.
Yes.
My friend Stacy
Childs.
Childs, the
Yeah.
SBOE here
Mhm.
rep,
Yes.
will be the guest speaker. We also have another number from Praise Dance Ministries that they're
Okay.
going to do a performance at the ball, and we will have the most impeccable food by Mason Crane.
I can
Catering.
attest to it.
Yeah.
'Cause
That-
it's delicious.
it-
Every bite.
It's
Wow.
definitely
Love.
going to be a night to remember.
And that attire is formal.
Yes,
correct?
it is formal.
Yes.
You dress to impress. We want you in. And if those individuals that are interested in coming to the ball, we
Yes.
also have an agency that is assisting with providing dresses and tux
Oh, that's
for
awesome.
individuals that would be interested to come, but
Yes.
that can't afford, that type
Wow.
of styling.
accessibility.
For
is
accessibility.
key. And
That's
I
right.
appreciate what the organization is
Yes,
doing
ma'am.
to allow that
That's
opportunity.
absolutely, yes. And the thing about it is, there are going to be some people who will get to attend. This will be the first time they've ever had the opportunity.
That's what I
to
want to
attend
expose.
this.
I want
That's
to
right.
expose this type of elegance, this type of, a sense of luxury that is accessible at what children don't get in their day to day, that have come from displaced families, that have come,
Let me ask you this: Are any sororities purchasing tables?
I believe
is that-
we reached out to the Deltas, we reached out to the AKA.
Okay.
Our ex-president is an AKA.
Okay.
And so I'm sure that and again, that's on the marketing end.
Yes,
So I would
yes.
have to speak to her to get that. But I think so. I think that,
And-
but they're welcome
But
too.
I'm sure. Oh, tell us about the historic location.
So it's at the El Dorado Ballroom, and that
Newly
is
renovated.
Oh, and it
Mhm.
is
Newly
beautiful.
renovated El Dorado Ballroom.
It is
Beautiful.
so beautiful. It'll be from 7 to 10 p.m.
Wow.
We will have all the stops, red carpet, and we'll have some
Yes.
vendors there that have things like body butters
ops
that have.
and-
Oh yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We'll have
Oh,
a
wow.
photographer.
That's gonna
We'll
be
have
so
a really
nice.
nice
Yeah.
backdrop, storybook backdrop that you'll be able to take your
Yes.
pictures in front of a professional photographer. I'm over the top. So it's absolutely going to be.
So if church
such a-
if churches wanted to purchase a table, what is are there a limited amount that are available
Yes,
right now?
we
Yes.
have
What's still
about
available?
7 tables available.
Available.
And
Okay,
and
okay.
we have 50. So table seat 10 We have 15 tables scheduled to be, so we have about 7 tables still available.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that means if your organization, if your church, if your company is interested, let me look in the right camera, is interested. I do that all the time, don't I, Tiffany? I know it. But if you're interested in sponsoring a table, if you've got an organization that works with young ladies or young men, and you would like to have an opportunity for your kids to get dressed up and come to this and sponsor a table and see what an actual debutante ball is like. This is the opportunity to do it. Erin, before you and Shawanda leave, can you all please give me your contact information one more time, and we'll make sure that we get that posted. And we'll make sure that we post that for the rest of the week, so that people can see.
Yes, ma'am.
And be able, and be able to participate. That sounds like it's going to be so much fun.
Are you going to come?
I have to get a dress that fits.
Right. We might can help you out with that. So you can contact me at 281-382-2463. That's my personal cell. Or you can go online to www.ucectx.org.
Yes, and it is the goal of United Colors Education Center to sell out this ball.
Yes.
Because that would assure that Sam's Heart is going to open on schedule, on time, in February. And of course, is there a newsletter that comes out?
Yes, so there is a monthly newsletter that comes out. Well, quarterly newsletter that comes out, and our, what is it called that's published?
Our annual
report is published every year. It's up by the 1st of February. And so it shows all of our donors, all of our sponsors. It gives you detailed information on where every dollar went. So, we're not an organization that's, kind of fronting like we take the money. Every dollar that you give goes to a child, and it's definitely accounted for.
And also, if you're not able to attend the amazing experience, you can definitely make contributions starting now.
Yes.
You can donate via pretty much every platform.
Right,
available.
every platform. Right.
At any time.
Everything at any time.
Today, next week.
And when we put that flyer up, will there be? Will you show the ways that people can donate?
Yes, ma'am. On the flyer, on the website, there are links that show how you can donate, what you want that donation to go toward. Because again, UCEC isn't just Sam's Heart. We offer an array of services for families. Like I had a mother called me the other day. I don't have any family down here. I haven't fed my children in 2 days. Thanksgiving, she hadn't fed her 8 and 9-year-old for 2 days. Okay. So we support the community. All of your dollars go to supporting the community.
And ladies and gentlemen, look at it like this. At some point, every one of us is going to come across someone or know someone who knows someone who has been through a rough time and who may have had business with CPS on some level before and been awarded the state or had state services, had to be a recipient of state services. And we want people's experience to be as positive as it can in a hard situation.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Well, Erin McCary.
Thank you so much.
Miss Shawanda Bass. Is that correct? I got it right.
With no y'all.
Right. Come on.
And thank you all for helping me on my math.
No
shame.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Oh, you are quite welcome. Thank you all. And you all are welcome to come back anytime. We want you to come back and give us an update.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we get I got you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much.
I appreciate this opportunity.
And before we go, because I hear our producer, he's clearing his throat. So that means that we need to yes. But Brandy, thank you so much for tuning in. Miss Ford, thank you so much for tuning in. I see some of my church members on there. Ivy, thank you. There's Candace. Hey, Candace. Hi, Mila. Rochelle. And we got a few more people on there, but guys, thank you so much. Please spread the word. If you can share this, please share this podcast. And that way people will know what's going on. We do a lot of what we do by word of mouth. sometimes, we just don't have the availability and opportunity to go and put a whole lot of money into advertising something. So we can be really effective by word of mouth and by
Sure.
social media.
Yes.
Sure.
Let's get these tables sold.
Let's
Get these tables sold.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bless
Thank you, Erin. Thank you,
Bye.
Shawanda. Thank you,
Thank
Tiffany.
you.
And until next week, y'all know our
Oh,
little
yeah.
yes. And on the count of 3. Until next week, 1, 2, 3. We can do
We
it.
can do it.
Bye.
You can do it. Thank you. UCEC. Sam Tart.
This was great.
I didn't feel nervous.
You weren't supposed to.
Oh,
Be